Hey everybody, welcome back to class. Today we're going to have a lesson in Pro Tools and we're going to talk about loop recording, and we're also going to talk about MIDI loop playback along with the MIDI Merge button and how to use those things. So before we get into that, I'm just going to mention that each Pro Tools chapter has an exercise that you do at the end. And in order to do that exercise, you have to have the file on your computer because it often tells you to open a certain file and work within that file. So I'm going to show you where to go to find that file, and what you need to do is download it from the internet. So if you look at the beginning of your book, you'll see in the preface on page XV or 15, you'll see this paragraph that says the download media, and it has this address right here, ALPPUS PT110. So anyway, if you type that address into a web browser, it will automatically start downloading this file that you need. So I'm going to do it right now. I've got my internet browser right here. I'm just going to drag it over and start typing. So that's alpp.us/PT, capital PT, it is case sensitive, 110 lowercase v and then 12. Push return and it immediately starts downloading right here in your browser, so you'll start downloading that file. Now I already have that file downloaded on my computer, so I'm actually going to push cancel because I've already got it, but I just want to make sure that you saw how to find it. And then once you do find it, or once it is downloaded, you can find it in your downloads menu. All right, so here it is. It's just 110V. So anyway, I click into it, and then you have this list. There's 5 folders inside with different names. I think the folder we're working out of this week for exercise 3 is this waiting here. So when it comes time to do that exercise, you'll want to open up the waiting here Pro Tools file. And anyway, that's how you're going to open it up, and that's where you're going to find it. So let's go ahead and get started with our lesson for today in Pro Tools. So we're gonna do loop record, and it's a really simple thing to do to turn loop record on. So come over here to your transport window, which I'm moving around. Here's your record button. And what you're gonna do is you're gonna right click on it. And when you do that, you have a little menu that comes up, and instead of checking normal, check mark loop. And as soon as you do that, you see this circle with an arrow kind of coming back to the beginning of the record button. So that's the loop record, and that means it's turned on. Now, why you'd want to use loop record is because sometimes you might be working with a person, a musician who is working on a certain section of the song and they can't get it right. So they just want to kind of play it over and over again until they get it right. And the cool thing is with loop record, you know, they go through a first pass, it wasn't great. The second pass wasn't great. The third pass was all right. The fourth pass, they got it. The fifth pass was all right. The sixth pass, they got it. And so then you can go back and listen to all those different takes, and you can hear and say, oh, this fourth take was perfect. That's the one we want. And you can put that in there. You know, rather than pushing record and then stopping and then talking and saying, was that good? Oh, it wasn't good. Let's start over. Okay, push record, stop. So, you know, you're going to do that anyway. You're just going to start over. But this loop record feature lets you just do it over and over again until it gets right. And so it's kind of a time saver when you're working with musicians. So anyway, let's give it a try right now. So I've got the guitar track enabled right here. Anyway, so I can see it, I can hear it. So I'm just going to push record enable, and that's going to start the recording. Before I do, let me just mention that I also have the pre-roll and the post-roll button on. And when I do that, sometimes you want to use a pre-roll and a post-roll when you're working with musicians, because that allows them to hear part of the track before the recording actually starts. So with the pre-roll, they could listen and get in the groove of the song and hear how it's going, and then the recording starts and they know exactly where to enter when that happens. So it can be very helpful. Right here is where you turn it on and off in your expanded transport. And if you don't see these buttons in your transport, you need to come over here and put them on right there. See where it says expanded transport? I just turned the expanded transport off, so now they're gone, but I can turn it back on right here. So that kind of changes your view of what you can see in your transport. Anyway, you just click it with your mouse and that will turn it on and off. But a shortcut way, and sometimes you want to do this when you're working with people, is Command K. So I have my keyboard here. If you push Command K, you can put both of them on and off really quick, really easy. And sometimes when you're working with someone, they want to hear it back without the pre-roll. So it's just a really quick way, that keyboard shortcut. So anyway, so let's give this a try. And just so we can really see how pre and post roll work, let's try it without loop record first. We'll just take a normal take. And with the pre-roll, you're going to hear the where that yellow flag is. See how these yellow flags are here? Those are the pre and post roll marks. That's where it starts playing, but it doesn't start recording until the half of the red arrow there. And then it's afterwards, the post roll plays until the second yellow flag there. So anyway, let's give that a try and see what it sounds like. So this is without loop record, but here it is. All right, anyway, so you heard that there was a bar before the recording started and a bar after the recording started. If we go back and listen to it. That's what we got, and then it stops automatically. So anyway, having a pre and post roll set can be very helpful. So it's good to know how to do that. I'm going to turn it, I'm going to keep it on, but now I'm going to turn loop record off. I'm going to undo that track I just took. So I'm going to right click on the record button, hit the loop record. Now it's on. I'm going to push play. What I'm going to do is I'm going to let it loop record or play through it a couple of times, 3 or 4 times. And every time I'm going to play some new riffs over the top, so that we can, see which ones we like the best and which ones we want to keep. See how it keeps going? So that played through 3 or 4 or 5 times and it got them all. If I push play right now, you're going to hear the most recent take of those loop records. So what I need to do now is I need to audition the takes to see which one I like the best. I need to listen to all of them here. So I'm going to turn off the pre and post roll. Command K once again will do that. And I have a selection here. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to go to the play button and I'm going to, whoops, I pushed it. I'm going to right click the play button. And when I do that, I have the option of looping the play button. So here now the play button is looped. That means my selection is going to continually loop over and over again without stopping. So we're hearing that over and over again. So to hear the other takes that we took during that recording, you come and hover over the clip that you just recorded and right click. When you right click over the clip, you're going to go down to the menu to where it says matching alternates. And so down here in this matching alternates menu, I have all this list of options for the different alternate recordings I just made or created. And so I can listen to all of those and see which ones I like. So before I'm going to do that though, I'm going to push play. So the loop play will be going. And as it's going, then you start clicking on those other ones to see how they sound. So let's listen through and see which one we like the best. All right, here's the first one. Second one. Third one. So after listening through all that, I guess I found the one I liked, and so I'm just going to leave it there. And if you want to access it, all those clips can be found here in your clip list over here. And so they are all here where you can still access them. So maybe you like more than one clip that you just recorded and you can still use it. So anyway, that's how loop record works when you're trying to use it. That's how you do it. But let's apply this now to MIDI. And for MIDI, it works a little bit differently because with MIDI, you're not recording a live audio signal, and MIDI works in ticks. They call them ticks rather than samples, the little MIDI markings. So anyway, it's not possible to loop record with MIDI. So I'm going to switch my record button back to the normal record. So instead of loop recording, when you're working with MIDI, they have something else called the MIDI Merge button. And I'm going to come over here over the transport, and I'm going to toggle it on and off a couple of times so you can see it. So this is the MIDI Merge button right here. So when you want to kind of do a loop recording type thing with MIDI, you have to make sure that that MIDI Merge button is turned on like this. So what we're going to do is we're going to build a drum beat with this MIDI Merge, and that may be one of the most useful things you can do because you can start a drum beat from the ground and work up. Start with the kick drum and then add a snare, then add hi-hats, and then add whatever else you want to add after that. And it's a pretty cool way to build a beat. So I'm going to come over here, I'm going to turn my guitar off, I'm going to record enable the MIDI drum track, bring it over here. And then I'm going to make a selection where I basically just loop. Let's do 2 bars. So I'm going to make it 2-bar phrase here. Now, to do this, you do have to make sure that the play button is looped. So you're using loop play as you do this. Also, I have a click track here, and it's on so that I can hear a metronome beat so that I can know where those beats are as I'm doing it. And I'll talk more about that click track in just a second. But first of all, so to do this MIDI merge thing, you're gonna just do that, push the record button, and then push play. Also, I have my MIDI controller. I have the beat sounds already where they need to be, and I've kind of figured that out. So you get that set up, and I'm gonna push play, and so now you're hearing that kick drum back that I just put in there, and it's going to keep record like circling around. Now I'm going to add a snare in there and build it on top. And now you can hear the snare in there. So now let's add hi-hats the next time. And now let's add some other stuff. Okay, now I'm going to push stop. So I think that's enough. But every time it goes through, you just play one instrument and it adds that MIDI information into the overall MIDI information without overriding the previous MIDI information that was already in there. So that's the really cool thing about MIDI Merge. And so for a drum beat like this, you can totally start at the bottom of the drum beat and build it up from there. And remember, when you're working with MIDI, it's always a good idea to quantize afterwards to correct any errors. So I'm going to come up here to the event, go to event operations, and then there's the quantize selection there. I'm going to quantize it all to 8th notes because I'm pretty sure it was all divided with that. And then you just push apply, and when you do that, it'll quantize it to all the 8th notes. Now we can listen back and we can hear that. Okay, so anyway, that's how MIDI Merge works. And I guess I think of MIDI Merge as the equivalent of loop record for audio because, you know, when you're working in Pro Tools or any digital audio workstation, you're recording live audio signals and you're also creating MIDI instruments and putting those in. And between those two things, you can get a full sound. So it's important to know how to do it both ways with both of those types of I guess, instruments that you're recording. A couple other things I want to mention today that are in chapter 3 of your book. I just want to mention really quick so you'll know where they are. One of the other things that chapter 3 talks about is memory markers. And first of all, over here in your ruler is there's a list of rulers up here. You got a tempo ruler, a marker, a meter ruler, and a marker ruler. So if you push this plus button here, this is how you add a marker, and you've got to name the marker. What markers are used for keeping track of different sections of the song. So if you have a song that's like verse, chorus, bridge, chorus, you can mark each of those sections, and it makes it visually easy for you to see where each of those sections are, because at the top of the song you have these markers that say chorus. So let's say I'm at the chorus of my song. Now I have this marker right here that says this is where the chorus starts, and it's a yellow marker. So they're pretty easy to insert. Anywhere you select with the selector and that red arrow falls, you just push the plus button over here, and then that's how you can insert a marker there. Remember, it's just an easy way to kind of keep track of where you are in the track. And then I mentioned that I was using a click track. Just in case you didn't know, if you want to add a click track into your session, you do that here in the track menu. You go all the way down to the bottom to where it says create click track, and that is how you add a click track into the session. I just barely added a second click track, and it comes with a click track plugin, and the plugin is pretty cool. I mean, as far as plugins go, but you can mess with the parameters of it, mess with the sounds of it, change the sounds, and you can customize the way your click works and sounds with that plugin there. Also very important, this button here. So we talked about MIDI Merge a second ago, and right next to it is the metronome button. Your metronome will not sound unless that button is pushed. So you have to make sure that button is pushed down, because sometimes you add a click track into the session and you can't hear it, and it's pretty frustrating. You just have to make sure to look up there and make sure that button is pushed. And you can decide if you want to click the sound during play and record, or only during record, or only during count off. So you can kind of decide that. But let's see. Here's our, yeah, I mean, if I just play the track right here, you can hear the click. If I push this button, click immediately, it's gone. I push it again, it's back on. So anyway, that's your metronome button, and it's important to know what that is. One other thing that the book mentions is tempo changes. And first of all, to affect your tempo, there's this tempo ruler here. And so you push the plus button, and that's where you can write in a tempo change. But there's also other kinds of tempo changes, and you want to be able to, let's see, I don't think I really want a tempo change. But at that point in the song, the tempo would change to 130. But sometimes you want the tempo to change over time, like an accelerando, where it slowly gets faster. Or you want it to slow down, like a retardando. So to do that, you've got to put your marker where you want it to be, put your selector where you want it to be, and then come over to the event menu. In event, there's tempo operations and linear. So you can create a linear tempo change, and that's like slowly starting to speed up. So it starts at the place where you selected, and then it ends after that. So I'm going to let's have it end in measure, I don't know, 30, I guess, on beat 2 of measure 30. So it'll be a really quick accelerando, and we'll see how that's going to sound. Now, I'll start it out. It's already at 120. I'm going to put it at 140 and have it speed up to like 180 or 190, just something very drastically gets fast. I push apply, and there it is. So now above that measure, you see these little triangles telling you that the tempo has been altered right there. Let's see what it sounds like. Start at the beginning of that drum beat, 120. Yeah, well, it was very brief, but you can hear it in there. If you apply it over like 8 or 10 bars, then it's going to be more dramatic when it starts to speed up. But just so you know, that tempo ruler right here is where you would affect those changes. You can also change the meter, like right here, you can see the meter ruler. Right now the meter is 4/4. You could click that plus sign. You could put a time signature change in right there if you wanted to. And so at that point, the meter changes to 5/4, 5 beats in each measure. And right up here, there's a customization thing where you can decide which rulers you want to see. And there's a lot of options for rulers. Here I'm turning all the rulers on. But honestly, you may not need all of them all the time, and they take up space in your screen. So it's best to kind of customize this and decide which ones you want to see. Like, well, I want to see the minutes and the seconds, and the bars and the beats and the tempo, but I don't need to see the key or the chords. I'll just see those two rulers. So right now there's only 3 rulers up there. So you can decide which rulers that you see. All right, well, that is it for today's Pro Tools lesson. Thanks for coming, and please let me know if you have any questions about anything. And you can send me an email. My email address, mcktabs@suu.edu. I'll see you next time. Have a good day.